And I'm back. How about that? You see that new intro? That was spectacular. You see that? It kind of has this sort of like late night vibe to it. The blinking lights. I love that. Thank you very much to Miles and everyone in the back who worked on that. Now we have 2 Miles on the team. We have one audio extraordinaire, Miles. We also have a video extraordinaire, Miles. So there's a lot of Miles going on here, but the team is A+. And a lot of you actually saw the behind the scenes that we did, the Periscope. I think Esther shot a video last week. And I'm happy that everyone's getting noticed because they do a phenomenal job back there. So I appreciate them very much. So, Mr. New York Rick, are you there? There he is. What are you looking at?
Oh, hello. Hello there.
What did I do wrong?
No, nothing.
Jeez.
I was doing the, like, you've caught me off guard.
Oh, okay. So this is
if this was, you know, a lavish home, I'd be, you know, rearranging flowers and then saying, "Oh, I didn't see you there. Hello, welcome to my humble abode."
This is the MMA After Hour.
Yeah.
This is
Number
exclusive to Twitter, themmahour.twitter.com. Of course, if you're watching this, you probably know. And a lot of people were upset afterwards. Look, you got to watch it live. You got to watch exclusive stuff. We're not going to give it away for free, right? We did post it 24 hours later, but...
Yeah, that's going to be the drill. 24 hours you're going to have to wait, unless you're watching right now. Okay. So spread the word. Tell the people who are not watching to be watching.
Okay. Wow, I actually got a tweet. Speaking of tweets, Chase Sherman weighing in. Did you see this?
He didn't tag me, so no. What is it?
He tweeted, "Someone tweet me the audio of Ariel calling me out." And then he said, "Great show today, Ariel Helwani. I'll post the video you want soon. Been busy preparing for UFC Long Island. I'll get my roommate to videotape it or to vid." And there it is. And then in another tweet, he says, "I really don't care to be on the show. This has all been good PR. If he wants me on, I'll go. If not, no biggie." Come on, Chase.
Oh, you're on the doorstep and then you ruin it.
Don't break kayfabe, man. I mean, really. I have to have a talk with this kid. Chase. Curtain Jerker 211, we've now devoted all this time to you. Don't break kayfabe.
Yeah.
I love how all these people, I love how all these people went and ran to him to tell him what I said when I called him the bum of the week.
Ooh, Ariel
Oh, snap. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no, he didn't. All right, so we have questions?
We do have some questions.
Okay, let's answer some.
Number one question. Surprisingly, tell me if you're surprised about this. I was definitely surprised about this. Surprisingly few questions about this upcoming weekend.
I'm not surprised.
This fight week has 2 cards with some great fights on it. I'm a little bit surprised. Do you think it's that 214 is taking the shine away? What do you think it is?
I mean, look, it's 2 title fights. One's an official title fight. One's an interim. But I think 214 has taken some shine. That's the funny thing. All these announcements over the past week and a half about 214, I think, are slowly taking away from 213, right? Because, like, think about this. If you're a guy who lives in St. Louis and is a big MMA fan, but you only really have, you know, $60 a month on top of probably what you're paying for Fight Pass to devote to UFC pay-per-views, you're getting 2 this month. And one of them is super stacked. Like, in one billing cycle to devote $120 to UFC pay-per-view. Now, you don't have to buy it on your own. You can go to a party, you can go to a bar, but that is a lot. So there is a chance, I think, that someone will be, I don't know, picking and choosing. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb by saying this. 214 is a much better card, right?
Absolutely.
Also, you're getting a free card on Friday. So if you want your UFC fix, and I actually think the free card on Friday is a really good FS1 card. Gaethje's debut. There's a Theodora's on the card. It's just a nice card for an FS1 fight night. You look at, I mean, they just lost Cerrone Lawler. That was kind of the people's main event. So yeah, no, I'm not surprised.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Why is that person with the pay-per-views from St. Louis?
I don't know. I was going to say Long Island, but I felt like we sort of devoted a lot of time to Long Island. St. Louis, Iowa, Des Moines, Chicago.
Speaking of Long Island.
Okay.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
How much do you think a cab ride from Midtown to Fidei costs?
Okay, first of all, it's not Midtown. It was like 30th and 6th.
He was at Hens. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's call it.
Do you think I cheaped out? But just for the record, as I'm alerting the masses, because I have to tell people that we're on
Twitter.
On Twitter. Look, I showed you my wallet. It's completely empty. There's no money in this thing. That's all I had. I'm sorry. Should I not have done it?
Look, if I'm Weidman, that felt
never come back.
That felt like a slap in the face.
Did he say anything as he left?
Yeah, you know what? He was like,
"Gosh,
man, He said he had flashbacks to the little kid in high school.
Come on,
in high school who wasn't giving him.
Did he really say
proper
that?
Respect?
Stop that. Did he really say that?
No, of course he didn't. Really
he's the
nicest guy in the world. He didn't say anything like that.
Was that dinosaur hands? You know, you ever go to dinner with someone and they're like, "Oh, I'd love to pay.
Yeah.
I'd love to pay."
Well, listen,
here's my credit card.
Well,
look, the truth is,
we have to make it right with Chris.
All right, fair enough. Look, okay, I've got his picture up there. I've got his shoe up there. The pump.
Yeah, he seemed. Was it me? He seemed a little reluctant to talk about that picture.
Yeah, that was interesting, right?
Because it is one of like his most famous moments, an incredible moment. I think he's very zoned in, and everything he said or his demeanor kind of alluded to that. I think he's going to look really, really good.
You're not going to that,
on
right?
That Long Island card.
You got to. That's your guy, Chase Sherman.
Look, Chase doesn't even tweet at me. So
I know. That's the thing.
I mean, you show me some love, maybe you get me on your side. Maybe
you get on the show. That's right.
Look, you keep doing what you're doing, Chase. All right, let's get to some questions.
Yeah, let's
Michael Johnson.
Yes.
With a win this weekend. He's kind of been up and down. Where does this put him if he's able to defeat Justin Gaethje? It's an interesting one because Gaethje's debuting, but he comes with a lot of fanfare and hype behind him. Where does that put him? Is he top 10? Where do you see Michael Johnson should he beat Gaethje? And maybe let's also answer, what does this do for Gaethje immediately beating somebody like Michael Johnson?
What about, by the way, what about that trash talk where he was talking about Gaethje being, I mean, was that too much?
It was, well, I mean, after your NASCAR impression, NASCAR fan impression earlier today.
What's wrong with that? That's someone from the South. You ever see Andy Kaufman? You want to wrestle me? You want to wrestle me, Mr. Lawler? That's my Andy Kaufman impression.
Anyway.
Of the Southern wrestling fan.
Wasn't my cup of tea. Like, I just don't think that level of fight insult is what I'm necessarily looking for. Didn't really get me excited about a fight. It's fine for, just a back and forth off the cuff kind of thing, but it didn't sell me on any differently on the fight or anything like that. It wasn't the type of trash talk that gets me excited about what's actually going to happen. That's just more like, whatever. They're going at it. I didn't have a problem with it. It just didn't resonate with me in any way.
Yeah. It did feel a little personal.
Yeah, but Gaethje seemed to handle it just fine. Just saying, like, it's not true. Whatever.
I would have lost my crap.
He brushed it off. But
anyway,
it is an intriguing matchup. It does have implications, or does it actually? That's the question to you. Does this have implications? Let's say Gaethje comes in and flounders like some top guys do when they do come over from another organization. Does it hurt his stock too much? And on the other side of the coin, does a win over Gaethje really vault Michael Johnson into new territory?
I think it does. He was a champion. I know he was in a different organization. Johnson's coming off a really bad performance against Khabib, but then prior to that, a really great performance against Poirier. So I kind of want to see how he rebounds. Can he go back to the Poirier performance? There's probably more heat in this fight than any fight this weekend. I think a lot of people are excited. They had a very intense back and forth in Dallas. They had another one this past weekend. I think this week they will have another. I think it's a great fight for a headlining act on FS1. So yeah, I mean, I think it's an incredibly important fight. It's sort of one of those where it's like, okay, Marlon didn't win in his debut, although I thought it was close and you can make a case. Can Justin, I think they're going to be linked for a little bit. Can Justin outshine Marlon? And then can Johnson prove that Justin was, a club champion, if you will, and prove his worth as, a top 5-6 guy. Remember, they offered Michael Johnson to Tony Ferguson, and Tony Ferguson was interested, just not on 24 hours notice. So I think that the win over Ferguson keeps Johnson very relevant, as good as Ferguson has looked as of late. So I think it's a equally important fight, and I love the styles matchup. I mean, I could see this being, I don't see, I know Gaethje has a background in wrestling. I don't see a lot of takedowns in this one. I don't. I feel like with the heat between them, Gaethje's style of just going balls to the wall, I could see this one starting out with a frenetic pace. I'm actually looking forward to this fight as much as any fight, Saturday or Friday. And
Agreed.
I love the fact that it's a Friday show and not a Saturday. And I love the fact that there's not, a Sunday show. And I like that it's Friday, Saturday. And I like that it's not Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because that seemed like a little too much.
I definitely agree with you. I think they're going to stand toe to toe. And I think there are two guys in this division that are confident enough in their abilities to stand toe to toe and let the chips fall where they may. They're going to throw the strikes at each other, and whichever guy drops is the guy that loses. And I think it's going to come down to a firefight like that. I think they're going to be in the pocket and they're going to be throwing leather.
You know what? I'm
just excited for it.
Oh my gosh. Chris Weidman just tweeted.
I was just about to read that after we finished this one. Chris Weidman tweeting, "You owe me $22 each way."
Oh no, I forgot about the other way.
Yeah, you owe Chris.
I forgot about the other way. There it is. Oh no, there is.
No. We don't have. Look, we're not that.
Chris Weidman wrote, "You owe me $22 each way, by the way. Also, did you let Cyborg know how I feel?" I was sort of wrestling with that one, but I couldn't find a really good entry point. I probably should have asked, but it seemed like she wanted to get off the Magana thing. So I will text Cyborg. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have checked. I could write him a check, and I could do PayPal. People like PayPal these days.
Venmo.
I don't do Venmo.
Sounds about right.
What else we got?
Shock me. Our next question. Cyborg and Evinger. How big of a hit does a loss to Evinger have on Cyborg? And
wait, wasn't there one before this?
No, that was just the
that was the other one. Okay.
This is phrased differently, so I'm going to change it a little bit. Derek asked thoughts on a 135er being her toughest test in years. My question is, do you think Tonya is her toughest test in years? And would it be a hit to Cyborg if she lost to Tonya?
Well, I mean, any loss for Chris at this point is a hit, especially with free agency coming up.
But with the caveat that there's expectation, right? She had her opponent changed on her. She's been, going back and forth trying to get a fight for the longest time. I think there's a bit of built-in understanding if Chris is a little bit off her game. And similarly for Tonya Evinger, if Tanya's coming in on short notice, there has to be a little bit of leeway given in her case on going up to face what is the greatest featherweight and possibly the greatest female mixed martial artist ever on super short notice.
There is a lot of pressure on Cyborg in the sense that so much has happened, and now she's getting her chance at 145 in the UFC to prove that she's the best at 145, to prove that she can, run with this division. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure on her to win, to look good. And then there's a lot of pressure on her to keep this thing going because the division is only around because of her. And so there's that contract waiting after everything that's happened over the last few years. I think that Tonya is kind of playing with the house's money here. She finally gets into the UFC backdoor because of the Megan Anderson situation. She's really a 135er, but she's in. And if all goes well, she'll probably go down to 135 after this. I don't see her sticking around at 145. If she loses, she has the built-in excuse. Not that she's the excuse type, but she's a 135er, and she was a champion at 135 in Invicta, and she's gone on a very good run, and she's fought a lot of top fighters. But even if she loses, she goes back to 135, and now she's a player in the UFC's 135-pound division, which is what she wanted, contrary to what she may have said. She was trying to play it off cool, and I respect that. She was very loyal to Shannon, and I really appreciated that relationship. And let's be honest, Shannon kept her relevant and gave her a platform to get to this point. I don't know if Tonya is getting to this point if she's fighting on some regional scene against fighters who we've never heard of. So I kind of feel like it's a win-win for all involved. Cyborg gets to stay on the card. She gets her title fight. Evinger finally gets to the UFC. If she wins, fantastic, massive upset. If she loses, she goes down to 135. I mean, no one really loses here.
And maybe one of two questions.
And can I just say, I like this fight better than if they would have asked some 135er originally in the UFC to just bump up and fight Cyborg, because there's something fresh about it. There's that Invicta super fight feel to it. Evinger's new. She kind of marches to the beat of her own drum. There's something sort of exciting and different as opposed to asking, I don't know, bantamweight X to just, take a fight like what Leslie Smith did or Lena Landsberg. You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
There's something unique about this.
There just aren't 45ers out there that you can just pluck up and say, get into this fight. So it would have had to be somebody from the 35-pound pool. And I think that you're right that this makes a little more sense as a storyline. Do you feel that this is one of the tougher fights that Cyborg has, had in front of her in some years? I personally do. I think that Tonya presents some difficulties in her style. She's not like other fighters. She has a very unique way about her, and I think she will be able to provide some difficulty for Cyborg.
I do think that Tonya will not be afraid of the moment.
No.
Will not let the lights get to her. Cyborg hasn't fought incredibly tough competition. That's just the problem with being a featherweight. So she's fought a lot of bloated 135ers or a lot of 145ers who aren't on her level. As far as resumes go, Tonya probably has the best in recent memory, right?
Sure.
It's been a while since Cyborg fought a champion or someone who's, Leslie Smith was super game, but again, she's a 135er and she was taking an opportunity to shock the world, and it obviously didn't go her way, but they did fight at 140. But if I'm looking at her record, I mean, I would say best fight since July of 2013 when she fought Marloes Kunin.
Yeah,
toughest
I'd agree
fight.
with that.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. Our next question. Rumor going around is that the UFC wants to sell the flyweight division again.
Yeah.
Any news?
What again?
Or have you heard any third?
What
I don't
did
know
they
what that means. Yeah.
What I heard was there were some talks at one point during the whole DJ situation of maybe making some money off of it and washing their hands of it. What I heard lately is that is not the case, that they are actually pretty content, bullish on it. Let's not forget there's a main event coming up featuring two flyweights, Sergio Pettis and Brandon Moreno, and that is not the case, that it has not been sold and they are not actively shopping it anymore. And I do feel like sooner rather than later, we are going to get a resolution to the DJ situation. I mean, if you just look at the roster, Miocic recently fought, and he has a bit of a contract issue with the UFC as well. Cormier is fighting July 29th. Bisping, we just heard from, his situation, and the middleweight, interim title fight is coming up, so he's not going to fight anytime soon. Then you've got Woodley, he's fighting July 29th. Conor, we know his situation. Max Holloway, fall. Cody coming back, and then DJ. They've got a show in Edmonton, and I wouldn't be surprised. This is just me talking off the top of my head. Would not be surprised if they tap his number for that show in Edmonton. They need a main event for that show in Edmonton, which has some solid fights on it now. The JDS and Ngannou fight and all that. But I feel like, Dana said it last week. Okay, you're getting Ray Borg. The crazy thing to me is, as the promoter, to completely crap all over the fight. Did you hear this?
Yeah.
Dana White did this interview with MMA Junkie, and he's like, okay, fine, you want Ray Borg? We'll give you Ray Borg. Kind of saying sarcastically, like, oh, let's see how many, pay-per-views that sells. And how many. And to me, it's like, no, now you have to wash your hands of the situation, make nice, and try to actually sell the fight. This is a record-breaking fight. History will be made. It feels like you're trying to shoot yourself in the foot, a self-fulfilling prophecy. We think that you're not a draw. Go see just how little you will sell.
I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat here for a second.
Okay.
If I'm hosting fights at 125 and people are seeming not to care that much about my champion, about the rest of the division, and there's an opportunity to kind of create some tension that has now drawn new attention to the division and to the champion. Is it possible that this was all calculated? That this was a
not on DJ's
move?
part. Not on DJ's part.
He doesn't need to be, to be honest, he doesn't need to be filled in.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking, it's kind of straight out of the pro wrestling playbook.
Listen,
holding
if
him
that's
down.
The case, this has been brilliant. If we want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I care more about 125. I'll be honest. I care more about 125
100%. 100%. I want to see how DJ responds. I want to see him break the record.
Exactly.
I want to see what they do, how they promote all this stuff. 100%. If that's what they were thinking, I personally think they
look all of a sudden, our champion's been fighting almost too much, to the point where we can't keep up with how active he's being. We can't find challengers for him. Maybe he goes onto the shelf for a little bit. The Stone Cold in the hospital type thing. And all of a sudden now, we need him again, and now he's back. He's going to come back at some point. We're thinking about selling the division. Now we're not. Look, I'm perfectly okay if the end result of this is everybody thinking I'm some kind of nut job, and I admit that I'm putting on the tinfoil hat.
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's be nice. Let's be nice. Let's be positive.
The end result is I care more. I care more about Demetrius. I care more about the rest of the flyweight division. So if it wasn't calculated, they stepped in it. If it was, that's some work right there. I don't know, like sitting there doing that interview and being like, okay, let's see. I don't know. But yes, I'm going to subscribe to this theory that this was all calculated. Well,
and believe.
Look, I sold one person. That's all I need.
Listen, if they want to, concoct storylines of this nature, sure, why not?
Or maybe hire me for all your storyline writing needs. Okay. When will we see the boys from the 209 back? I think this was particularly relevant this week just because we saw Nick Diaz failing his
whereabouts.
His check-ins.
So you get 3 strikes within a year, and if you don't tell them where you are, then they will provisionally suspend you, and you could receive a very long suspension. And I got into it a little bit with some people about this, and this one kind of chapped my chops, grinded my gears, if you get what I'm saying. Because here's a guy, Nick Diaz, who hasn't fought in 2.5 years. He fought in January of 2015. When he last fought, the USADA deal wasn't in play, right? It came in later that summer. And this is a guy who has done everything in his power not to fight. They have come to him with fights. They have said, you want to fight this guy, Robbie Lawler, that guy? No, I don't. And yet you're still devoting resources to try to find him and levy these strikes against him. And I know that no one deserves preferential treatment. I know that he is just the same as every other fighter on the roster. But come on, guys. You know that this guy has no interest in fighting. Leave him alone. He is essentially, for all intents and purposes, retired. And if he pulls out of the testing, then what if he probably wants his cake and he wants to eat it too. He wants to be active and say, in a month, I want to come back. Or, just have that liberty, right? That luxury, if you will. And he doesn't want to pull himself out because then he has to go back into the testing pool and be on the sidelines for several months before he can get back in. And so I just don't understand why they're trying to make an example out of a guy who they know is going to fail to tell them where he is. They know he has no interest in fighting because he has turned down fights. I'm not asking them to make exceptions for active fighters. He is clearly not an active fighter. He has been out of the game for 2.5 years. He has actively turned down fights. And so, what does this do? Okay, fine. You want to make an example out of him? You want to say he didn't, live up to his agreement? He signed it. It's not our problem? Fine. What it does is, in my opinion, it puts a spotlight on the fact that you are asking a guy who is not making any money off of you, who is not actively fighting for you, who is not accepting fights. You are asking a guy who is an independent contractor to tell you where he is 24/7, 365. I called a guy today to ask him to come fix a leak in my garage. I can't ask that guy to tell me what his schedule is for the next week and ask him to keep me abreast of all his appointments, where he's going to be, if he's going to the shore for the holiday. I can't ask him to wear a certain type of t-shirt when he got, do we want to get into that? Do we want to go down that rabbit hole? Because that's all this is doing. And so everyone could come out and say no exceptions, no favorites. Sure. But come on. Nick Diaz is telling you he's done, at least for now. I say leave him alone. And I'm not some kind of Diaz apologist. I've already said, look, we fought for you to get that suspension reduced, and nothing was really done. And that was fine. We were not looking for anything to be done. But it is somewhat disappointing that everyone kind of spoke up and he never came back to fight. Fine. The rules are the rules. I get it. But in this case, you have a guy, 2.5 years, actively turning down fights. Why are you still bothering him? It doesn't make sense.
Could he not withdraw himself, though?
He could withdraw himself, But if he withdraws himself, and I, you know, he recently dropped his management. He does, you know, or maybe they dropped. I don't know. They separated ways.
Sure.
If you withdraw, you got to go back in, and you can't go back in for several months. I believe if you retire, you have to be in the testing pool for 6 months. So maybe he doesn't want that. But I don't know.
That's the trade-off, though.
Yeah,
that's
that is the
trade-off.
So you could say, okay, he should have done that. But look, this is a guy who is maybe flying by the seat of his pants. Just look at his social media. Every night he's partying. He's in a club or something like that. I mean, it's actually not that hard to find out where Nick Diaz is.
Yeah, they can find him pretty easily.
If we want to be, you know, going by the letter of the law, if we want to be, you know, sticklers about this, yeah, sure. He didn't tell you. I guess not. But all it does, in my opinion, is put a spotlight on the fact that this arrangement is not fair to the fighters. It just isn't.
This application is not good.
And
obviously.
This is a guy who fought last before the USADA deal was a thing.
Yeah. That said, he can't play it both ways, right? If he wants that flexibility to be able to come back whenever he wants on the drop of a hat, then he needs to do.
And by the way, I'm
whereabouts.
speaking for him. He has not even come out. We don't even know if he cares. Like, what are you going to do? Suspend him for 8 years? The guy doesn't want to fight. What are you going to do?
And in that case, yeah, then who cares? Like, at this point, if he doesn't care, I don't care. That's my attitude.
That's how I feel as well. So who cares about suspending him and making it? Maybe you're trying to make an example out of a guy who's never coming back and telling people like, hey, and I get that. Maybe,
I think it's to show, you know, we are still checking into our other. I don't think this has anything to do with Nick Diaz. I really don't. I think it has to do with.
Yeah, maybe.
It has to do with, hey, you wanted this testing. Everybody wanted this testing. We're still here doing it. Just, you know, just letting you know that we're still out here doing this testing, and the people who do want to fight are still being tested, and some people who don't want to fight are being tested as well. I don't think this has anything to do with Nick Diaz, to be completely honest. I think it's a show of the fact that this is still in effect. This is still underway, and we're doing everything we can. And here's one example of somebody not checking in. And this could happen if a fighter's trying to be active and not checking in.
Do you not agree that the whole checking in thing, 24/7, 365, not X amount of months, not X amount of weeks before your fight, 24/7, 365, and people will say, oh, you were asking for random testing. You were asking. Yeah, I was, but I wanted the fighters to actually have a say in this whole thing as well. I mean, to spring upon these people who fight 2 to 3 times a year on average, to have them tell you where they are 24/7, 365, to me is asking for a lot. And especially, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's making 8 and 8, 10 and 10, you know, some of these fighters, and I have to tell you where I am I mean, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. You know what I mean? Tomorrow's an off day, right? Tomorrow's a holiday here. I don't know where I'm going, but I have to tell you if I'm a fighter, because what if they come to your house? What if you and your family wants to go on a road trip tomorrow, you know? Oh, I forgot to tell them, boom, strike against you. It's just a lot. I mean, look, if they were getting paid millions of dollars like NBA and NFL players, I'd say, you know what, suck it up. You're getting paid $200 million a year, or, you know, 4 years, Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? They're not getting that.
Yeah. Look, nothing you're saying is incorrect, is arguable. I think in this case, obviously the letter of the law is different than the intent, and Diaz doesn't care, and neither should we. And neither should they.
Nate, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him at the end of the year. Like I said, December 30th is when they want Conor to come back. I respectfully don't buy this Russia Khabib stuff. Someone told me to align this with my computer, my nameplate thing, my black belt. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and fights Nate for the 3rd time. I think that if Conor has a competitive showing against Floyd, I think that the Nate trilogy can do 2 million buys. I'm not even talking about winning against Floyd. I'm just talking about a competitive showing. I think he could do 2 million.
I think that fight could sell no matter what. I don't think he even has to be competitive.
Yeah, because he's going to be so much more popular. The world is going to know him. He's going to come off a 3 million, 4 million buy pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It's going to be madness. What else?
What's the scoop on Anderson Silva? He did lay down an ultimatum.
Yes.
And now...
Yep. I actually reached out. Where does he
stand now?
I'm happy that I reached out. I reached out to his management last week, and they told me nothing. Stalemate. So I guess as of right now, he is retired. That's the
Man
scoop.
of his word. Man of his word so far.
So far. That's the scoop.
UFC 214 is stacked. Do you think that this was calculated to start, looking ahead to 214 before people are trying to throw money down for the Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather fight?
What do you mean?
So that if there's a pay-per-view, they purchase 214.
Do you think 214 is stacked so that the UFC have a good pay-per-view before Conor fight, as people are unlikely to spend? Nah, I don't think that's it. I think that the stars aligned. Am I surprised that they went with 3 title fights? Historically, they don't do that. And I saw some other people say, like, you were bitching about Maia not getting a title shot, and now you're saying he didn't have enough time. Well, I don't think that they go hand in hand. Like, he deserved a title shot. He didn't have to fight Masvidal, and he did. And if you look at social media, Tyron Woodley has been preparing for a fight for quite some time, actually since before 211, since before Maia fought Masvidal. And now, essentially, he has given a month to prepare for a fight, for a title fight. His last chance. There's no doubt about that as far as fighting for the belt. So part of me was like, well, why does this card need 3 title fights? Like, why don't you just put them in Edmonton? And I'm happy for Woodley. He's getting pay-per-view points, and he's going to be on 205. He's going to be on this card, and maybe he fights GSP in November at MSG. But for Maia, I was like, gosh, this guy's done everything. It would have been nice if he got an extra month. Hey, like, that's what most people get when they fight for the belt, right? At least 2 months, if not more. So that's all I was saying. I'm happy for him. He doesn't seem to be complaining, at least not publicly. So great. We're getting the fight. I think that this title fight was put together for July so that it would align with MSG and have the welterweight champion fight GSP, although GSP, I don't know what's going on with that whole situation. It's a crazy thing, but I think that that's what they want. And Maia, they're pretty much saying your number is being called. You're up. You got a month. What are you taking pictures of?
Screenshot.
Okay.
What 3 guests would you like to have on the MMA Hour? Now, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. I know how you get about these types of things.
Why would you even ask me?
Well, maybe you want to give people a peek inside the mind of Ariel Helwani.
Why would I tip my hand? Okay, I'll give you 3 guests. So the question is, what 3 guests do I want before Floyd versus Conor? Oh, not including
Floyd and Conor.
Now, I plead the
Were you going to say 1 Floyd and 2 Conor?
Nope.
Not going to do it, huh?
No. I actually think that we've covered, if I may say so myself, the fight, better than most. We've had Ellerby on, we've had Espinoza on, we've had Roddy on, we've had Kavanaugh on. I mean,
we're looking at it from all angles for sure.
Yes.
Okay. This past weekend, we saw a very controversial fight in Pacquiao Horn. Maybe we unpack that a little bit, but the second part of that is, what was the most controversial fight in MMA?
Well, to me, the big story coming out of this was 2 things. I've seen so many people say that, like, oh, you'll never see this happen in the UFC. You'll never see Dana White do something like this. And Dana does, he has nothing to do with a controversial decision other than the fact that the UFC will sometimes put, certain judges and referees in place when they're the commission, acting as the commission, or recommend a judge or a referee. But this happens all the time in the UFC. I mean, just last week, Kevin Lee won, when referee Mario Yamasaki called off a fight, which shouldn't have been called off. Chiesa never tapped, and he's appealing. And so, like, it was just crazy to me to hear that. Like, oh, this is why the UFC is so much better. This is why MMA is better. No, this happens all the time in MMA. This is the fight game. It's going to happen. There are corrupt judges, referees. There are inadequate ones, incompetent ones, underprepared ones. I mean, the list goes on. And we see it more often than not, I think, in MMA, because you have a lot of people who are like old school boxing, kickboxing people who don't know anything about the ground game. The other interesting thing was Stephen A. Smith on ESPN completely crapping all over Horn, and then afterwards crapping on the decision and still kind of crapping on Horn. I mean, the whole thing. Did you watch this? I tuned in because Mosley Jr. was on and Michael Conlon was on. I was like, this is great, boxing on ESPN, and I enjoyed it. But then they cut to Stephen A. Smith, and he is like, could you imagine going to the studio for a Fox show, and they cut to Bisping, who is completely saying that the main event coming up on FS1 is total dog crap. You should not be, investing any time in this. This guy doesn't stand a chance. It was crazy. Like the honesty. I mean, if that's how he felt, cool. But it did sort of feel like if I'm Top Rank or ESPN, do I really want the biggest star in our company to tell the world that this fight is a sham? And then the guy ends up winning via controversial decision. So that was, that. I don't even know how I feel about the Stephen A. Smith thing, because I get what they're doing. They're trying to get his rub on the boxing telecast, and he certainly gets people talking, and he's a name, and there's a trickle-down effect. But it does sort of feel like if you're going to be talking about boxing, like, you should know who you're talking about. He's not as big of a scrub as you think. And if you're going to like tell the world that you don't know who this person is, nor his opponents, you kind of lose your credibility. Like, why should I listen to you as a fan if the analyst on TV doesn't even know who this person is? So I don't know. I was a little bit torn when it came to that. It made me think, like, if the UFC signs with ESPN, is Stephen A. Smith going to be telling us, who X featherweight is fighting on some ESPN show? It was crazy, but I guess good for boxing. People were talking about it, but maybe not the byproduct that they were looking for with the Stephen A. Smith thing. The interesting thing is going to be what happens the next show.
Let me just say one thing about the Stephen A. Smith.
Okay.
I saw a ton of people from the MMA core, which is what I primarily follow, getting all up in arms about Stephen A. Smith saying that this type of controversy when it comes to decisions doesn't happen in MMA, wouldn't happen in the UFC. Why are you upset about this? That's my question to you. Why are you upset about this? We know going in that Stephen A. Smith knows next to nothing about the sport. So when he showcases that, when he puts that on display...
Did the MMA people bother you, or the boxing people bother you more? Because
the MMA people.
No, but if I'm a boxing person, I'm like, really? You don't know who these people are? You don't know who the...
But I'm not to be honest, I'm not a boxing person, so I don't follow those people. So I wasn't seeing that or caring about that. Like, look,
that's what I found was interesting.
That's
like
the way the network is going, where they're putting those faces and names out there to scream about it. But my thing, and if I'm a boxing person, and I know Stephen A. Smith doesn't know anything about boxing.
Well, you don't know that. I mean, they put him on the broadcast. When has Stephen A. Smith really talked about, any kind of boxing event other than like a big Floyd Mayweather fight? Let's just put it this way. Let's just put it this way. If it was, Valentina Shevchenko versus Amanda Nunes, and this was airing on ESPN, and Stephen A. Smith was doing the studio and was telling us that Valentina Shevchenko isn't worth crap. You know what I mean? Like, as an MMA person, you'd be like, no. Well,
here's
she beat so and so.
This would be my reaction to that.
You would care about it. You would take it personally because you love the sport and you are excited about it being on ESPN and you want to see it shined in the greatest light possible.
This is what I would say. I don't agree with that. I think that's a poorly formed opinion based on nothing.
Sure, but you can understand.
But I expected it from if you put if you put somebody who doesn't follow the sport, if you put my mom in there to yell about MMA, I'm not going to be expecting her to know what she's talking about.
I would.
My bar for Stephen A. Smith's commentary on fight sports is here. So I'm not expecting it to be up here. So I don't want it to be.
Steve Levy was like, he set him up with, you have the book on all the fighters. You know everything. Tell us about Jeff Horn. And he's like, well, actually, I don't know anything about this guy. Let me read off the people he's beat. And like some of those people, like Randall Bailey, some of these people were like actual, fighters, worthy of recognition. And so if I'm a hardcore MMA boxing fan, I'm like, man, come on. I don't know.
Yeah, that's my reaction is like, man, come on. But like to get
I thought it was hilarious.
Upset, to get touchy about it.
No, I was getting touchy.
Who cares?
Are you saying I was getting touchy?
No,
I was getting touchy.
There was a lot of people getting touchy about it.
I thought it was kind of hilarious.
How could Stephen A. Smith say that there's no decisions like that in MMA? You know how he could say that? Because he doesn't know anything about it.
Fair.
Why are you surprised?
Michael Wilbon saying he was like
another one. What does he know?
No, but it was funny because like they were just in Australia selling 55,000 seats. You know what I mean?
But he doesn't know.
I know.
He has no idea. I wasn't expecting him to know it, and guess what? He didn't know it.
Yeah. Look, I don't get up in arms. I don't like. I'm not a big fan of media on media crime. I know sometimes I've stepped out, but whatever. I thought it was cool to see boxing on ESPN. I thought it was like hilarious. Like I was texting people, "Are you watching this? There's a fight coming up, and Stephen A. is completely crapping all over the main event." I mean, okay. Dare I say it was refreshing?
Okay, here's the question now.
Because every time you cut to the studio, it's like, this is the greatest night ever. This is the greatest fight ever. Like, no, can you tell us sometimes a little bit how you feel?
So there's probably a middle ground.
There's a middle ground. Maybe not totally crap, and don't wave the pom-poms every second.
What is the most controversial fight that maybe not in history, but that you can remember or particularly stands out to you?
Gosh.
Controversial MMA fight.
Honestly, at this point, I mean...
You're done, huh?
I'm thinking of home. Durandamy was somewhat controversial. I'm thinking of Brooklyn, like Brunson, Anderson.
No, there's not even in the stratosphere.
What's the most controversial?
I mean, there's a ton.
Give me one. I know there's a million. I just can't think of any
my
right
number
now.
one?
Yeah.
Diego Sanchez and Ross Pearson. That's
Diego versus Martin Kampmann?
That was also, but Diego Sanchez versus Ross Pearson had a 30-27 for Diego.
Yeah.
When he lost that fight. By anybody's account. There's I wrote a few down. Diaz Condit, that one was controversial. Not nearly as controversial as this. Machida Shogun was polarizing. Leonard Garcia versus the Korean Zombie, where Leonard Garcia seemed to win it on volume and not much else. Penn versus Edgar 1, controversial, especially because of Douglas Crosby's 50-45 pen card for Edgar. But for me, and I'm sure some people will send us more, for me, I think Sanchez and Pearson was one of the most shocking and controversial scorecards I've ever seen. I could not believe that Diego walked away with a win on that one.
Anyhow, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I'm really enjoying boxing lately. Yes, what else we got? Because we got to get to our draft before we go. Don't forget.
Okay. Let's run through these. These are the jokey ones.
Yeah.
Phil Jackson is gone?
Yes. Oh, my God. I woke up that day.
How happy are you?
I woke up that morning, Wednesday. I'll never forget it. And I was shaking. I was literally shaking when I read the news. I did not expect this. James Dolan was like, nah, we're going to stick with him 2 more years. They just extended him. And I saw it. Phil is gone. I got a text from someone and I started to shake. One of the happiest moments of my life. I did a podcast with Limited Upside here at SB Nation. As a Knicks fan, happiest moments, of course, I should say. And I'm so happy that he's gone. I don't mind that they haven't done anything. I haven't been following the news in the last 4 hours, but I stand pat. That's cool. Right the ship. I'll take your boy David Griffin. Masai doesn't look like he's leaving. Presti, you want to come over? Cool. RC Buford, no problem. I'll have you on the squad. No problem. But I'm just so happy that the senile old man is out of here. He has soiled our organization long enough. He did not want the job. He was not suited to execute as an executive. Peace, later, good riddance. I never want to hear the word triangle ever again. To say I was thrilled would be a massive understatement.
David Griffin, oh my God, don't get me started.
And by the way, Jazz doing great things, of course. My Jazz, Ricky Rubio, what a pickup that was.
Ugh, gag me. What inspired New York Rick to grow out the man bun? We heard Ariel's Afro story a few weeks ago. It was me realizing that one day I'm not going to have hair.
That was it?
So that was it. I was like, you know what?
What a depressing...
One day I'm not going to have hair. You know, you were talking to Daniel Cormier about the LeBron look. One day that's going to be me.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
One day that's going to be me, and at that point, I'm just going to shave my head completely. I'm not the guy who's going to hold on to it. But until that day comes, I realized that I needed to grow out my hair and enjoy it while I have it.
Damn. I remember when you told me you were going to grow it out on the subway platform. It was a big moment for us.
There you go. One last question. I don't have it queued up as a screenshot, but any news about Conor versus Khabib in Russia? How realistic is this?
I alluded to this. I don't feel like that's a thing. I feel like there's more involved there with that comment, but I won't get into it too much. I think that they're going to do Khabib versus Ferguson, and then they're probably going to do Conor, depending on how it goes, you know, in December if all goes well, and maybe it's against the winner of that fight, or maybe it's against a Nate Diaz. But yeah, I don't see Conor going to Russia anytime soon to fight there. I don't see the UFC putting on a fight of that magnitude in Russia. They'll lose a lot as far as pay-per-view is concerned. Just don't see it happening. Not now, at least. Okay.
Now it's time for our picks.
Okay, so we're going to do International Fight Week draft. I pick 5, you pick 5, rotate. 2 cards this weekend, 7 and 8. Tough finale, UFC 213. We did this last year and I won. Remember?
Yeah, you won on the tiebreaker. I actually have the picks from last year.
Wow. Tell us.
I picked John Jones, who was then replaced by Du Ho Choi.
That's right.
Because Jones pulled out. You picked Cain Velasquez next. I picked Gegard Mousasi. So far, all of these are winners. You picked Joe Duffy. I picked Will Brooks. You picked Sage Northcutt. This was my loss. I picked Rafael Dos Anjos against Eddie Alvarez.
Oh, that's
you picked
right.
TJ Dillashaw. I picked Gilbert Burns. You picked Mark Hunt, which was your loss. And then the tiebreaker was the fight between Joanna and Claudia. And I picked Claudia, you picked Joanna, and you took it home on the tiebreaker.
So how are we going to do this? We're going to go. We're going to go rock paper scissors right now.
No,
screen to screen.
I
to
think
see who
you
goes
need
first.
to pick first.
No. Let's go right now.
Because I picked first last time. I think that's only fair.
Okay. Why did you? Why did I pick first, or why did you pick first last time?
You just ceded the floor to me, and I think I have to return the favor out of the
nice
sake
gesture
of competitiveness and fairness.
Wow.
You get to
I'm
pick
surprised
first.
that I actually did that. All right.
I'm surprised too, because there was a lot on the line. This was our bet about the
what is on the line?
The championship that we don't know. What is on the line?
I like the music. It's a nice touch. What is on the line? Let me think. We'll decide afterwards.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I think we asked people. We asked people to send in suggestions. So this is the thing. Between now, let's put this all together on Twitter. Between now and Friday morning, send us suggestions using the hashtag the MMA Hour to either New York Rick or I, or you can just throw it out there and we can find it. But it's always nice when you send it personally. What should be on the line? We'll leave it to you. And then we'll pick one before the tough finale. How about that?
I like it.
All right.
Better be something good, people. Come up with something good.
With the first pick in the 2017 International Fight Week draft, the winning team, the Helwani team, selects Mark Diakese, who is fighting against Straker Close on Friday. That's Mark Diakese Mark of the American Top Team.
Yours truly, New York Rick, is going to go with one Anthony Showtime Pettis, number 1 pick.
Wow. Who's he fighting?
I have faith in Showtime.
Who's he fighting? Tell us.
He's fighting Jim Miller.
That's right.
On UFC 213.
Okay. I was hoping you'd take a little longer so I could tweet this, but here we go. Okay.
Maybe we should point to which card they're on, right?
Yes, of course.
Diakese is on.
I said tough finale.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, so with my second pick, you know, the reason I wanted to do this was because Amanda Nunes, Shevchenko, Romero, and Whitaker and Johnson Gaethje, like these are all kind of toss-ups.
Sure.
You know, so I really feel like these are hard, but like there's no, gosh. Okay. Okay, I have one that I'm going to save. Do you have your next pick?
Of course I do. I have a whole draft board.
You do?
I have a whole draft board.
Oh my God. I don't know if I could do this. Wait a second. I'm feeling a lot of pressure.
You know what? We didn't really explain the rules of the game. I'll give you a little bit of time as I do this.
Okay.
And, Ariel and I are going to alternate picks from the 2 fight cards and assemble 2 teams of 5 fighters. Whoever wins the most bouts out of the 5 is the winner. And then we'll do a tiebreaker as well. And now we could tie. That's what the tiebreaker is for. And also, you know, favorite, underdog, doesn't really matter. We're just picking winners. No line action,
That's
nothing
right.
like that.
And also, if anyone on Twitter wants to help me out.
Oh, come on. You're pick number 2, you need help?
Okay, sorry. Gosh, I'm not used to this. Okay. With the second pick.
Yes.
In the 2017 International Fight Week draft.
Yes.
The Helwani team, the winning team, selects Angela Hill.
Interesting.
Who is fighting Ashley Yoder on Friday on Fox Sports 1 Tough Finale. Okay.
So you've got Hill and you've got... Who was your first pick? I forgot already.
Mark Diakese.
And I've got Pettis. And now my number 2 pick on the winning team is Aspen Ladd.
Ah, damn it. That was my one. I wanted to pick her. All right, fine, fine. She's very nice. She sends me updates on Twitter on her training. It's all very nice.
Yeah, I've got Aspen Ladd who's fighting Jessica I on that tough 25 card.
Okay.
Your turn, number 3, Ariel.
Okay, so I already have 2 people on the Ultimate Fighter finale. So do I want to load the deck there? I'm kind of staying away from the main events. Steve Bosse keeps jumping out at me, but I feel like I'd be picking with my heart as opposed to my mind. Of course, there's Tavares and Theodorou, 2 friends of the program.
We're getting a lot of cut the man bun and shave the eyebrow ones.
Oh, no. We cannot do that.
A lot of that.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, God. All right, here we go. You ready? Are you looking at the odds, by the way?
No, I'm not. But I mean, I don't think it helps much, to be honest.
You don't think it helps?
I think it almost hurts sometimes. You think, oh, they're the biggest favorite, but there's a lot of factors that go into that. It can hurt, to be honest. It's something I tried to stay away from. When I'm doing just pick'ems, I don't really like to do that.
Okay. Wow, these are a lot. Have you looked at these odds? Super close. Okay.
I have, but not recently.
With the 3rd pick in the 2017 International Fight Week draft, the Helwani team, the winning team, selects Curtis Blades. That's Curtis Blades, who is competing against Daniel Omelianchuk on Saturday, UFC 213. That's Curtis Blades.
So far, you haven't touched any of my top 4.
Oh, no.
Number 3, Sexy Hara himself, Teruto Ishihara
against Gray Maynard. Wow.
I'm very confident in Teruto to get back on track.
Okay.
A tough outing against Artem Lobov, but I like Ishihara.
Okay. Wow.
Sexy
you're going
Hara.
with him. And that's on Friday.
Yes.
Oh, man. You were really prepared for this.
Look, you don't go into the draft without knowing who you want, Ariel. You know who you remind me of right now?
The Knicks?
Phil Jackson.
Yeah, that's right.
You're falling asleep on this game right here.
Oh, my. Heavyweights are so difficult, Like, Oleinik is jumping out at me. Did you have Oleinik on your board?
Nope.
Okay. This is my 4th pick, right?
This is your 4th pick.
All right. With the 4th pick in the 2017 International Fight Week draft, the Helwani team, the winning team, selects Chad Laprise.
Okay.
Chad Laprise, preliminary card, Fox Sports 1, UFC 213.
I think that's a fine pick.
Okay.
I think Chad gets it done there. He's on a bit of a skid, no? He's let's see.
Don't tell me.
Chad. No, he just won one. He lost 2 before that, but he won 1, so he's back on track. I like Chad there as well. Kamozi's tough though. Okay, you haven't touched any of them. My number 4 pick.
Jesus.
I'm going for Rob Font.
Wow.
Who's facing Douglas Silva de Andrade on the preliminary Fight Pass card for UFC 213. Rob Font.
Wow.
I like Rob Font a lot.
I'm gonna get smoked here. Just not feeling it. Too tough. These cards are very closely matched.
You'll notice that neither of us has really touched the
top.
The upper part of these cards.
I don't want anything
the fights
to do
are
with
so
the
evenly
top.
matched.
Oh my! So this is my 5th pick, right?
This is your last pick.
Okay.
Then we have to pick a fight that's a tiebreaker as well.
I can't, 2 keep jumping out at me, so I'm just gonna go for it. Let me just see if anyone wrote to me anything.
I'll tell you this: Chase Sherman's going to be heartbroken if.
What?
No, he's not. He's fighting him.
He's not. Yeah.
I know.
You know what's the problem is? I ask people for help on Twitter, but I think my Twitter weeds out my mention, so I'm not getting anything.
Need tips, please help. Need tips, please help.
I got a Blades. Okay. Screw it. With the 5th pick, this is my final pick. Did I go with Jordan?
Your final pick.
Did I go with Jordan Meehan? Do you like Jordan Meehan against Bilal Muhammad?
You're gonna ask me the guy you're playing against?
Okay. Screw it. Fifth pick, International Fight Week Draft winning team, Helwani team selects the innovator of the Ezekiel choke, the innovator of the Oleinik choke, Oleksiy Oleinik. Upset over Travis Brown. How about that?
I like it. I like going out on a limb there.
Did you have him on your board?
So far, you've touched one person who was on my board,
was
and
it?
that was Mark Diaz.
Oh.
Now I have the last few could be, it's between Cannonier, Torres. Let's go with Tisha Torres.
Oh, there it is.
I'm gonna go with Tisha Torres.
All right.
I picked a lot from the tough card, opening up the tough card against Juliana Lima. I'm going with the tiny
you got
tornado,
the 2 fight
Tisha
pass.
Torres.
Now,
I've got,
what do you do? What's the tiebreaker? What was it again last year?
we have to find a fight that we disagree on.
Okay.
That's what we did.
Oh,
Maybe
yes.
this can be one of the upper.
Okay, let's do
Like,
one of
I
the
mean,
uppers.
I think. Do you have any strong feelings on Johnson Gaethje?
No, I have no strong feelings on anything.
Oh, stop.
Let's go with the main event, Nunes Shevchenko, the last fight. So it all rides on the last fight.
Sure. I like Nunes there.
I'll go with Shevchenko.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
do it.
Done. That was easy.
I can't do it with the left
Tiebreaker.
hand.
Nunes and Shevchenko. There it is, folks.
There it is. Bang.
How do you feel about your picks?
Not good at all. I felt much better last year, I remember. There were some sure things. I don't feel like there's any sure things here, but I guess that's fun. So to recap, I had Omelianchuk, I had Oleinik, I had Chad Laprise, I had Mark Diaz, and I had Angela Hill. That's not bad. I could live with it. And
Yes.
you had...
I mean, look, these are all great fighters that we're expecting to win. I have Pettis, Aspen Ladd, Ishihara, Rob Font, and Tisha Torres.
There it is. Bang. All right, that was fun. We shall recap it all next week. New York Rick, good luck to you. Happy 4th of July to you and everyone
Thank
back
you.
there. Happy 4th of July to everyone in the back. Thank you so much to Twitter for giving us this
Yes.
extra hour to do
Happy early birthday, Ariel.
Well, thank you. It's very nice of you. Happy birthday, Canada. Happy birthday, Canada. 150 years.
You see those US bucks sitting there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we need to pay respect to.
That's right. Or our president sending out gifts of pro wrestling. We shall not get into
It's better
that.
than Chase Sherman.
Well, yeah, maybe. Maybe he got his tips from Chase Sherman. I think that there's a better chance that Donald Trump is sending out his tweets than Chase Sherman. That's what I think. That's where we're at right now. All right, you can hit my music. We're out of time. Thank you so much to Twitter once again for giving us the MMA After Hour platform. Or do we not do the music thing for After Hour? I forget. Oh, we do the music thing. Okay. We get to hear it twice. How fun is that? We just go on and on and on. It's a good time to be alive. No. Someone said, New York Rick's man bun versus Ariel Helwani's beard? No chance in hell. No chance, as the great Vince McMahon once said. No chance in hell am I putting my beard. Why? Because I have no faith in any of my picks. This is why I don't make picks. Because I don't have any faith in my picks. And I doubt that New York Rick would want to flush all that hard work down the toilet. But we shall see. It's always a fun time in Las Vegas, International Fight Week. We've got the Hall of Fame ceremony on Thursday night, and I'm very excited about that. We'll also be doing an MMA beat from the road, so stay tuned for that. We've also got all the media workouts and media day and all that stuff and more Wednesday, Thursday. Then we've got 2 weigh-ins this weekend, so we'll get 2 early weigh-ins, and I'll be doing the commentary. Tough finale. We're going to find out who's fighting Diego Lima, comeback series on Friday. That's on FS1. And then we've got UFC 213 on Saturday, both, by the way, from T-Mobile Arena. All right. For now, we shall say goodbye. Thank you again to everyone who tuned in. Heard that there were some great numbers on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff and more. Thank you to everyone who stopped by. Thank you to everyone who spent time with us this afternoon or is planning on doing so. Appreciate it very much. Back next week, same time and place. Until I say peace. Sabadia.